Ebusuafo ne tiefo ni die kwan so mema obi bia akwaba ahanum daily update TV. Ebusua yato abawie electoral dispute and also misunderstanding. Certainly I could do court. Na me pacho Afenyo Markin in the constituency ye Effutu constituency honum so no. Enkofo mienu the independent candidate any the NDC PC. That is the independent candidate no only the NDC PC. Omo mienu aka womontoma album eje Afenyo Markin ako Effutu High Court. I didn't know omode Afenyo Markin ako Effutu High Court. Omo say Afenyo Markin sa ne easy now declare ne say if Afenyo Markin afa abano sa abano Afenyo Markin wanfa. Yes, say Afenyo Markin ewia abanim na omo cite a lot of anomalies. Omo kire say the High Court ni enti omo. Na ebusua sa nsemu ya nkasase nsemu wom papa menje nsem no enka ma so far the lawyer no yebekọ ne yakotie nsem na nkasa free lawyer no ho because nsem wom pa mekasa meka ebejemre yakopon hira na onye okese medase bebre.
Now, he's ordered the attorney tonight. Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo Markin's seat is under fire as two parliamentary candidates. They're challenging the validity of his election as Member of Parliament for the constituency. But there are a few questions which we're going to be asking of this particular development shortly. But the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Effutu constituency, James Kofi and independent candidate Louise Abuabing, they've petitioned the Winneba High Court to annul the 2024 parliamentary election results that elected Alexander Afenyo Markin and retain him as MP for Effutu constituency. They've cited irregularities and bias on the part of the Electoral Commission. Lawyer for the petitioners, Jennifer Morris AJ, speaks of some irregularities which allegedly affected the outcome of the election. Take a look.
The first petitioner, what the first petitioner is seeking is that there were some anomalies on the day of election, as well as on the pink sheet itself. Some people were not supposed to have even signed for their polling agents. They ended up signing for his polling agents. And we don't know those people from anywhere. And Electoral Commission agents or polling officers were the ones who filled the forms and even got people to sign. And we are talking about 96 pink sheets. We have about 150 polling stations in Winneba over here. And if you have 96 of them, what does it tell you? You get it? So there are a lot of anomalies. And in the case of Louise Abuabing, we are also, so the first one, we are seeking to annul all those pink sheets. And then in the case of the second petitioner, which is Louise Abuabing, we are seeking to, in fact, annul the entire results.
You mean the entire election?
The entire election result of Effutu constituency, because we believe that the rules of natural justice has been breached. Clearly, the rules of natural justice has been breached. And if you listen to the tape from Honorable Afenyo Markin, and he says that we are going to deal with them, we will ensure that they are punished for this thing. And then the Electoral Commission herself also goes ahead to ignore her in the process. It means that there was a connivance somewhere in order for him to benefit. And so we are saying, we are of the view that the election itself was not validly carried out, and he himself was not validly elected.
So that's the lawyer for the petitioners in this case in the Effutu constituency. But then again, let's go back to look at the exact results that the Electoral Commission declared. And it was a landslide for Alexander Afenyo Markin, really. You look at there, and based on the results, 67% of the valid vote cast was in favor of Alexander Afenyo Markin. Some 39,512 of the valid vote cast. In fact, that was an increase and an improvement in his performance in 2020 as against James Kofi, who garnered some 19,383 of the valid vote cast, representing 32.8%. That's a drop, actually, if you juxtapose 2020 to 2024 results. In 2020, he pulled some 18,802, but in percentage terms, it was quite higher. But you understand that in every election, the number of valid voters eligible voters in constituencies would increase. So that tells the exact percentage analysis as we're looking at it. But I've been joined on the telephone by the lawyer you just heard speaking right there. That's the lawyer for the petitioners in this case challenging the eligibility of Alexander Afenyo Markin as the MP for Effutu constituency, Jennifer Morris. Jay is a private legal practitioner. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening.
Now, when we look at the results of the election, as I just put there, that declared Alexander Afenyo Markin winner of the Effutu seat, it was a landslide victory, 67% as against your client, 32%. Well, how grave are these anomalies you're complaining about to really have influenced this outcome as we saw it?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers as well. Yes, that is true. There seems to be a landslide in terms of the figures, but you would also understand it from our angle when you see the irregularities, such that you have electoral officers as presiding officers going ahead to fill the form and sign on behalf of polling agents when polling agents have said they are not in favor of those results. And so you wonder how those figures came about, because there are certain figures recorded on the pink sheet, which those figures were not signed by our polling agent. And the law is clear. If a polling agent refuses to sign, there is a reason you have to give, and not to go ahead to sign on behalf of the polling agent. That is the first case that we are going to establish in court. Secondly, we are also of the view that, in fact, when you look at the case of Louisa Boabe, she was totally disregarded and excluded from all the processes, such that even as we all heard, in fact, Louisa at a point, even on the day of election, was behind bars with no reason. Now, here is a lady who was not allowed to present polling agents, yet you had people signing on behalf of her as polling agent. When somebody has not presented a polling agent, why should the person have in front of her signed that there was a polling agent representing her?
I see.
Clearly.
Okay.
And these are pink sheets we are talking about, in excess of 30 when it comes to that side. And when it comes to the side of the Electoral Commission itself, recording figures on behalf of Honorable Afenyo Markin, that is in excess of 90. And so these figures you are seeing, these are just figures recorded.
If you say the Electoral Commission, recorded figures for Alexander Afenyo Markin, what do you mean? That what? The results, the figures did not exist. The EC manufactured those figures and put them on the pink sheet?
Yes, the figures were manufactured, because from where we sit, we think that the figures were manufactured, because when you have counted results and agents say they are not in support of that result, and some even call for recount, and the EC officers say, no, we are not going to recount at the polling station, and so they also say we are not going to sign, then the Electoral Commission itself goes ahead to record the figures and sign for those polling agents.
And
what does that tell you?
And all of these anomalies accounted to about 20,000 of votes in favor of Afenyo Markin. That's going to be a tall order for you to overturn, at least based on the details of the results as we're seeing. A difference of 20,000 between your client and Alexander Afenyo Markin.
Yes, we have done those calculations, and then if we are to annul those results, the figures you are going to see there are going to change.
I see. That's interesting. But then again, when do you know when the Effutu results was gazetted by the Electoral Commission?
Yes, the gazetting of the results took place, I believe, somewhere on the 29th or 30th of December 2024. That was when the gazette, I believe, happened.
Actually, we checked and it was on the 23rd of December.
23rd, okay, all right.
Good. Now, you do know that based on the details of the Section 18 of the PNDC Law 278, which you're a lawyer, so I know you're very much aware of this. Let's look at, and I just want us to look at the Section 18 of the PNDC Law 284 specifically, and what it says, so that if you agree that the results of the Effutu constituency was gazetted on the 23rd of December, the law per PNDC Law 284, Section 18(1), says an election petition shall be presented within 21 days after the publication date in the Gazette of the result of the election to which it relates, except that a petition questioning an election on an allegation of corrupt practice and specifically alleging a payment of money or other award to have been made by the person whose election is questioned. The bottom line is that it's supposed to have been within 21 days after the gazetting of the results. Between 23rd December 2024 and today, we're talking about some 48 days. So why were you waiting all this while when the law specifically gives you 21 days, which has elapsed, by the way?
No, the process was filed on the 5th of January 2025. That was when the process was filed. In fact, the process was filed on the 6th of January 2025, and we filed a motion of for interlocutory injunction restraining Alexander Markin from portraying or putting himself out as member of parliament. And so today was not the day that we filed the process or the petition. Today was actually a day that we were supposed to have even moved our motion for interlocutory injunction. However, this process of interlocutory injunction was supposed to have even been moved on the 10th of January 2025. But we faced a number of administrative challenges which had to do with the registrar of the High Court, Willibar, failing and deliberately trying as much as possible not to serve the respondents in this matter. That is what has delayed the process. But the process itself was filed as far back as 6th January 2025. And for those misconduct of the registrar, we intend to petition the office of the Chief Justice on those conducts. We have already made that known and that aware to the trial High Court judge on those issues. And so we will file a petition against the conduct of the High Court registrar for deliberately delaying service of the process on especially the first and the second respondent.
We'll see how the coming days will look like on this matter. And well, because this is in court, we'll see how the court process will proceed from here. But Jennifer Morris Ajay, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. He is a lawyer for James Kofi Annan, who was the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Effutu constituency in the 2024 parliamentary elections. They're challenging the eligibility of Alexander Afenyo Markin as MP-elect, but we'll see how things play out in the coming days. This is Ghana Tonight, the face of analysis of the president's 120-day promise. What's your own assessment of President John Mahama's first 30 days so far? We'll look at some of the key promises and also the policies and what he said he was going to do and what has been done so far. Dennis Kwaberi Wedam, Esquire, is with me in the studio. It's good to have you as always, Dennis. What are we seeing in the first 30 days? There was a short documentary earlier today.
Yes.
We saw it on TV3.
This looks like an attempt to account to the people of Ghana on what the president has been up to. Barely 30 days in office.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the key things that came out strongly. And even beyond that, which was put on TV, they also put out a newsletter. The presidency seemed to be very active in giving out information. We just hope that this is sustained just so the public is able to keep tabs with what is ongoing there. But the key things that have been captured under what the president has said, and in the words of the presidency, they say they are the major actions that have been taken by the president in respect of this. One of them has to do with the constitution of a working team for the presidency, both for the president and the vice president. We have seen this, the appointment of presidential staffers, including advisors for specific areas and key sectors that the president intends to tackle. We have also seen that he has also set in motion the processes for the review of the 1992 Constitution. And in particular reference to this, we know of the Professor H. Kesi Press Committee, which is supposed to lead this particular process. There's also the point about putting together a planning team to work on the National Economic Dialogue. This committee also by Dr. Ishmael Yomsen. There's also an announcement of a team to plan the National Forum on Education. This is something that quite a number of people are looking forward to, considering that the free senior high school policy is something which is key on the agenda of this particular government, looking at whether or not there should be reforms, and if there should be reforms, in what aspects, including funding sources and all that. So this particular committee has been put together to also look into that. That for the presidency is a major move that the president has made already towards achieving his agenda. There's also the mention of...
And that is chaired by the former Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, Professor George Odro.
George Odro, yes. Fantastic. We also have Kofi Asare on that particular committee of Africa Education Watch. There's also the commencement of the National Tripartite Committee negotiations with the view to setting the base pay and minimum wage. This is particularly important because of labor agitations. Because if issues of minimum wage and all these things are not handled properly, you are likely to have a whole lot of labor issues. So that conversation has already started, with the labor unions also expressing their concerns as to how they want government to progress on this particular matter. There's also the announcement of the Hajj fare, which has been reduced. Now, it appears to be cheaper than it used to be. This has also been done within the 30 days. Now, there's also the commencement of taking actions to implement the 20-day social contract with Ghanaians. You remember that the president put out some 25 key things that he said he was going to do within the first 20 days in office. When you look at some of the things that have been done here, they are pointers to taking off some of those things. And I'll just show you some of the things that were contained in that particular document. So when you look at this, he talks about nominating a complete list of cabinet ministers in the first 14 days. We have seen that executed. In fact, these were to be presented to Parliament for vetting. We've seen them being vetted and then sworn in. There's also the promise that he was going to constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic. Leanest, yes. We have seen him working within, at least when it comes to the ministerial appointments, within 50 ministers. That we can speak to. But most efficient is somewhat subjective. But yes, that's what the president promised to do within the first 120 days. I mean, this was 90 days. Now, to also establish a robust code of conduct and standard for all government officials. He had spoken about this at the point where he was swearing in some of his ministers, where he asked them to not be arrogant. He gives them pointers as to how to conduct themselves in office. But of course, we have not yet seen the establishment of this particular code of conduct and the standards. But of course, the president has spoken about it. He also makes mention of the holding of the National Education Dialogue to discuss the true state of the National Economic Dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy. So when I mentioned that with what he had done in the 30 days, there are already indicators in what is contained in the 120 days. This is one of the things I was talking about. That's right. That he put together a committee to plan this particular dialogue.
Absolutely.
There's also the promise to scrap e-levy, COVID levy, 10% on the bet winnings, and then emissions levy in 90 days. This is something that many are looking forward to because, I mean, there are some who say that these taxes are really nuisance taxes. The president has promised that he will get rid of these in 90 days. We are working within 32, 33 days.
3 days or about.
Yes, so a few more days to go. There's also the promise to review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported for industrial and agricultural purposes in 90 days. This, not much has been seen in this particular respect, but yes, it's contained in this particular promise. And Ghanaians are most definitely going to hold the president on this particular one.
True.
Now also, there was a promise to commence drafting needed legal amendments and prepare for the implementation of the 24-hour economy. We have seen the president appoint an advisor on this particular one, but as to the commencement of the drafting, I am not aware of anything that has been publicly made with respect to this.
Right.
There's also the establishment of the Accelerated Export Development Council to promote exports. As far back as 2024, the president had indicated that if he became president, now he is president, he would personally chair this particular council because it is dear to his heart, because Ghana, we need to increase our exports. There's also the promise to convene a national consultative conference on education. Of course, this committee has been put together to plan this particular conference. It's one of the things that have been done within 30 days. So, Alfred, it's a lot of them, about 25 of them in all.
The implementation of the no academic fee policy.
Yes, we have heard the Minister of Education mention it during his
briefing. Says that those who pay
already,
they should be refunded.
Yes.
So you tick the box for that one?
Not exactly, because that was a question that was put to him at the point of vetting. He only indicated what was in the pipeline.
I see.
But as to the implementation of it, we're yet to see that happen. So, right. I mean, the promise was to implement, but that was just an indication of how it's going to be implemented.
Yeah, there will be bias. Yankopo ncha yenyina na onye yenyina kese say yenyamre na ya benya video ni bi nso ahwe. Say the maka ne kan no a daily update TV. Ebusia. Say no first time about channel so I'll share a video ni we. So when you je ho nko ade a patch my thumb up. Subscribe to your YouTube channel no na like na share your video no so ma would love it say nya bi enti Yankopo ncha na onye okese. Na me patch Afenyo Markin ye no ho bon mu pa outin ho sensema lawyer no e kan ye no credit a now say or call for annulment of Effutu constituency or election there. Then Afenyo Markin say what's some run. But oh so Afenyo Markin won with a landslide. Now it's to move so with a very big margin. And he should in case crash some more run crana. Well, you need the ABC, you need the ABC. Yes, you need the ABC because ultimately who NPP are Kesi phone in our crowd to top form. You know. And also in Chelsea Afenyo Markin, so no the own to me at the end of form, or better on subit matter form. But all the same, we are looking forward to see how Kesi and Kasebeko, because I think they are very important and interesting as such. I mean, putting consideration on the person, the persona, the persona of Afenyo Markin, our parliament, and what GBBFA will say on the obetity, the president of the Republic of Ghana, because Omumuhuni say, Brana Nanado, the former president, His Excellency, or a president, you know, the NDC squad no more parliament, no man chairman, no, because now, or more, or I mean, opposite to some of the policies, and the Sadia, or Monso, or Monche. Emma and Nam San Semia making evidence back, or crying, say, or more shape, you know, APA Babontim, I mean, another prepare Babontim, because said there is no way on Bema. NDC majority in parliament, you know, on Bemomo peace. Now, who say, I dear Matnasia, more margin say, no more bay. And he say, Kesi Be say about ya, not just who say, very interesting, very interesting. Said they are catcher on Ebusia, ye di ebedi etre, the BCBiano, ye the bebre for an almost or many be eti, Yakupo in Shayin and Onyekes. Stay tuned for more updates. Medasi Bebre.